Hey, how's it going, guys? Thank you for tuning in to VR Revelations. So we have some more developing news here concerning the reports that were coming out yesterday about Zelensky traveling to the United States. So it looks like they were true, and now we know that that Zelensky is in fact in the United States and has arrived at the White House and has met with President Joe Biden. He's expected to give a speech at a joint session of Congress later on today. I will be covering that also, so make sure you subscribe to the channel for more coverage. Of course, I said yesterday that I thought this was very symbolic. It is being reported that this is the first trip that Zelensky is having outside of the country since the war started. And, this comes in the midst of an increased attack by Russia. Of course, we've seen footage, and we know that Russia has been attacking Ukraine with drones. And, they've been taking out the electricity in the country. So a lot of places right now, a lot of people there in Ukraine are without electricity and internet and, basic necessities. And this is in the this is as winter is pretty much just starting, so, people are freezing, and Ukraine is asking for more help. They were asking for better weapons. The U.S. said that they were thinking of sending their Patriot missile defense systems to Ukraine, which are the missile defense systems that the U.S. military currently uses. So it's like, the top of technology. And so it looks like, it wasn't fast enough. The decision wasn't coming fast enough. So, in my opinion, that's why Zelensky is traveling to the United States, sort of to make a plea and to urge them to, send these weapons and to remind them that, Ukraine is only in the war still because of the support that it's receiving from the United States. And so I think essentially Zelensky, is coming over to say, hey, guys, like, wake up. Look, we're fighting Russia. We're dependent upon you guys. Like, if you don't send us these weapons, we're not going to be able to resist the Russians. And at the same time, Russia is warning warning the U.S. of sending these, more advanced weapon systems, and warning that this could escalate the war and have unforeseen consequences. But let's go ahead and take a look here at this live update that the New York Times is having right now. I believe they have some footage here. So it says the Ukrainian leader will address a joint session of Congress later Wednesday. The trip is his first outside of Ukraine since Russia's invasion 10 months ago. You can actually see Zelensky here meeting with President Joe Biden. So let's take a listen here.
President. Pretty close. Yeah, that's right.
Pretty incredible footage there, guys. Pretty historic with everything going on right now in the war there in Ukraine. So we saw Zelensky get out there and meet Joe Biden and his wife. Let's go ahead and go to the next video here. Okay, let's take a listen.
I mean that sincerely. Not just inspire us, but inspire the world with their courage and how they have chose their resilience and resolve for their future. And the American people have stood proudly with them, Democrats and Republicans, together with our allies in Europe, Japan, and other places, to make sure you have the financial, humanitarian, and security assistance that is needed. We're going to talk about that today. And we're going to continue to strengthen Ukraine's ability to defend itself, particularly air defense, and that's why we're going to be providing Ukraine with Patriot missile battery and training your forces.
Okay, so Joe Biden just said right there that they are going to be talking about like these security packages and more support for Ukraine. And then he said that they are going to be providing Ukraine with these Patriot batteries, these missile defense systems, which again, Russia warned that if the U.S. does provide these to Ukraine, it's only going to lead to unforeseen consequences. And again, the better the weapons get for the Ukrainians, the better the weapons have to get for the Russians, and they have them. Of course, they have nuclear weapons. To be realistic, they could destroy Ukraine within an hour if they wanted to. This is the type of power that we're talking about when we talk about nuclear superpowers. Okay, right now we could have pictures on national television of Ukraine, of craters all over Ukraine, and the only response the United States would have to that would be to launch an all-out nuclear attack. But then we're talking about the end of the world here. So that's the ultimate escalation we're talking about here. And as the weapons get better and better on the battlefield, the higher the possibility for the use of these weapons. And Russia is acknowledging that. The only ones that aren't acknowledging that seem to be the United States and Ukraine and all these other countries supporting Ukraine. But again, the United States has sort of dug themselves in a hole they can't get out of, because they started providing billions and billions of dollars in support to Ukraine, and literally they are the lifeline of Ukraine. So if at any point the United States stops sending weapons, right, their own weapons to Ukraine, Ukraine fails. And then the United States is embarrassed on the world stage, their power and influence diminishes, and Russia looks like the new world superpower. So they either go for that option or they go all in. They push all their chips to the center of the table. They use all of their weapons, whatever they have, whatever is needed, to support Ukraine and to assure victory. But that's the thing here that they haven't, thought through. Unless there's a coup where, the people of Russia overthrow Putin, which won't happen because the people of Russia support Putin. The only way that Ukraine can beat Russia at that point is through nuclear weapons. And again, that's why we don't have these major super world powers facing each other in direct war, because we're talking about mutually assured destruction. We're talking about the end times here, which I think eventually will happen according to Bible prophecy. I just don't think it's going to be, like next week or at the beginning of the year. But it's very interesting that, it's like the U.S. is almost not saying anything about this publicly, like nuclear weapons, like they don't exist, right? Like we're back in the days when men just fought each other on the battlefield. Like, no, we're talking about the end of the world here. But I'm sure they know that. Again, I think one of the interesting things here is that, the U.S. isn't sending like a whole bunch of Patriot batteries to Ukraine. I think they're only sending like one, which is ridiculous if that's true. But I think they realize that at some point in the future they will be in a fight against Russia directly, and they sort of want to see how these Patriot batteries perform on the battlefield against another world superpower who is also using their advanced weapon systems. So that's where these proxy wars come in handy for these major nations. The only thing here is that in this proxy war for the United States, their proxy is Ukraine, but Ukraine is fighting directly against another world superpower, that being Russia. So the consequences for this are, exponentially higher than any other proxy war where the United States and Russia have been involved. But I think we got another video here. Okay, it's more of that same clip. Let's keep on reading here. Quickly, here are the latest developments. President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived in Washington on Wednesday to meet with President Biden and address a joint session of Congress in a bid to rally support for his country's war effort. As a Ukrainian leader arrived on his first trip outside of Ukraine since Russia's invasion in February, the Secretary of State Antony J. Blinken announced that the United States was sending Ukraine another $1.8 billion in military aid, including a Patriot missile battery. A Patriot missile battery? Just one? It's not going to do much. One of its most advanced air defense systems. The latest U.S. package of weapons for Kyiv will include Patriot missile batteries. The United States will provide Ukraine with its best air defense systems for guarding against enemy warplanes, drones, and cruise missiles as part of a new package of military aid to Kyiv valued at up to $1.85 billion, according to a statement the State Department emailed to reporters on Wednesday. Most of the aid, the most expensive package for Ukraine since late August, will come from existing Pentagon stockpiles, which for the first time will include a Patriot air defense system, a collection of missile launchers, radars, and support vehicles. So a lot of defensive equipment there. Biden and Zelensky spoke while seated in the Oval Office in front of a roaring fire, like we just saw a video of there, before heading into 2 hours of meetings. Zelensky gave Biden a military cross medal from one of the Ukrainian soldiers serving on the front lines. Undeserved but much appreciated, Biden replied. Yeah, so they're pretty much reporting on what we heard there from the video. Of course, so in the midst of this trip from Zelensky to the United States, we did have some statements from Russia here, from the Kremlin, as is being reported here by the Jerusalem Post. Kremlin says no chance of peace with Kyiv after Zelensky Washington trip. So looks like Russia is seeing this and they're saying, okay, you chose to travel to the United States to ask for more help. Well, then, we're gonna have to finish this on the battlefield here, which is not good for Ukraine. I got to be honest, guys. The only way Ukraine is gonna beat Russia is if they acquire nuclear weapons. Okay, even if every other nation chose to support Ukraine directly with their troops on the battlefield. At whatever point Russia, believes they are going to lose, like they're going to get invaded, right? They're not going to surrender. They're going to launch their nuclear weapons. That's why I believe we're living in the end times, because it's almost impossible for any of these nuclear world superpowers to lose by themselves without dragging the rest of the world into it because of the invention of nuclear weapons. This is, we got to realize what we're talking about here. That's why I do believe that, these nuclear weapons were invented to fulfill Bible prophecy. I think that's one of the signs of the end time, and I will be making a video on that later. But there you go. The Kremlin essentially is really mad. And now you got to think about it. Putin is sitting there, right, watching as Ukraine flew from Ukraine to the United States to plead with the congressman to send more help. Sorry, that's my kitty there. To send more help to Ukraine. And now Putin is going to be sitting there as Zelensky travels back from the United States with better weapons. So, Russia is going to have to one-up this move by Ukraine, and that's that's only going to be reflected on the battlefield. Russia is probably going to have to hurry up and make more advancements in Ukraine, or at least they're going to think that as they see more support coming in, for Ukraine. So things I think are going to ramp up here definitely as we head into the new year. Of course, Ukraine has stated that they believe Russia might be planning to attack the capital here at the beginning of the new year. So I think this move by Zelensky is only gonna, make Russia hurry up in their plans, and it could lead, I believe, to small or use of small tactical nuclear weapons. Again, we call them small, but compared to the big nuclear weapons that Russia and the U.S. has. These things are, small, but they're still massive in scale. Russia did say that if the U.S. sends these Patriot missile systems to Ukraine, essentially, they're giving themselves the green light to attack the leadership of Ukraine. So that's pretty much Zelensky and, his men around him. And you could just imagine, how that would go in Western media if, Zelensky was to be taken out. But it's going to boil up to the point where either the U.S. is going to go all in, right, and risk the end of the world over Ukraine, or they're going to realize that, Ukraine isn't going to be able to win unless they have nuclear weapons and they take out Russia, which, is crazy. I think, unfortunately, at some point they are going to give up on Ukraine. I don't think the U.S. is willing to risk the end of the world or, mutually assured destruction over Ukraine. But again, with these decisions that these leaders are making in Washington, you just never know. And again, guys, as my cat is climbing me here, that is why the truth is stranger than fiction. Thank you for tuning in to this video. I will be doing more coverage here once Zelensky has his speech in Congress. So make sure you subscribe. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.